Welcome, everyone. My name is Cindy Teevens. I'm author of Alchemy, How to Feel Good No Matter What, and The Happiness Lie, What Generations Have Been Told That Makes You Unhappy. And this is Dear Self Live, the spiritual version of Dear Abby. It's for people who are seeking answers to why they feel, act, and react the way they do. It is said that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. To appear is what I add, because no matter where answers appear to come from, your mentor, a book, your friend, a dog, an enemy, a tree, ultimately, they come from within. They come from you, from yourself. So ask away, because the truth is available here and now. Welcome to the catalytic conversation that can unveil it. Today's topic is, well, why we feel, act, and react the way we do. And this question became extremely important to me a number of years ago, in fact, before 2009, even before my father, who suffered so severely, became extremely depressed, and so depressed that he died by suicide. And that event set me on a quest to find an end to suffering. And it happened for me years later in the middle of my own unrelated suffering, but not before a lot of inner seeking went on. And one of the things was that I didn't like the way I acted and reacted and felt in a lot of circumstances. You know, in retrospect, I would look back and really not like what I did or said or how I behaved. And so I began to wonder, why? Why do I do that? Because, of course, that's the question we ask ourselves, because we always think there's something else causing it. And we think if we can just figure out why, then we can stop. So I started on this quest. And the why, it seemed to me, was because I felt bad. That's as far as I took it. I didn't take it beyond that at that point. I clearly saw that when I feel bad, my behavior, my reactions are bad. They're not useful, they're painful for me and for others. And so I thought I had to go about trying to control my state, how I feel. That would be the solution, I thought. Yes, if I could just control my state. And I took various different courses and trainings. I read books, self-help. I took neurolinguistic programming practitioner, and then I took the master level, and I thought, this is it. This is going to be it. But it wasn't. Even as I graduated and got my certificate, I knew I couldn't control my state. And every book that I picked up, I thought, this is going to be it. This is going to have the answer. And actually, the more books I read, the more questions I had. And even where I thought the answer must lie, you know, with awakened ones, with gurus, with Zen masters, surely, you know, they will have the answer. Actually, they asked more questions than anybody else did, even more. So I was quite frustrated. And then I began to pay attention to the fact that the awakened ones and the gurus were asking more questions than answering them. And this began to open my eyes to the fact that nobody out there can answer it for me. The questions have to be asked because I have to answer. An answer can't come from outside of you. They never do. They never will. They never have. It's just impossible. So while we're seeking answers, we think we need an answer. But what we're also not aware of is what's causing the question in the first place? So this quest, which wound up with me being more frustrated than anything for a while, also turned me within. I realized nobody's going to give me the answer. Nobody has since childhood. The answers to the big questions. What are we doing here? How do we get here? Where do we go from here? Those were surfacing. But they were not really available to be answered yet until these other questions. Why do I behave the way I do? I don't like it. It's not useful. And it came back again to state. But it didn't matter what I tried, I could not control my state. And then it dawned. Well, what if the state didn't happen in the first place? Then there would be no problem. There would be nothing to transcend, nothing to be bigger than, nothing to struggle with, no question to ask. And it didn't dawn in that way. I began to realize that I was attached. What does that mean? I was attached. I thought I needed things, people, or events. And if I didn't get them the way I thought I needed them or wanted them, I'd feel bad. And if I felt bad, my behavior would be bad. Those were my beliefs at the time. But I discovered that even if I felt bad, I didn't have to behave badly. I remember having a conversation with a family member that was typical, heated, nasty. I would call it pinging and ponging. They'd ping and I'd pong, and we'd do this dance that wasn't very pretty. And one day I just stopped and I waited before I ponged. And there was this gap. And I realized in the middle of this gap, I don't have to pong. Maybe I don't know what else to do, but I don't have to do what I've always done, which has not gotten me anywhere. And in that gap, which grew and grew and grew, something else came. Something else arose. I don't even remember to this day what it was, but something beautiful came out. Something, the complete reversal of what I normally would have said, came out. And the spell was broken. And the dance couldn't be danced by either partner anymore because it takes two. And they didn't know what to do because that just wasn't the steps we normally take. And it changed my relationship in an instant overnight. So it was a powerful learning that just because we feel bad doesn't mean we have to behave badly. We quite often actually use it as an excuse, Oh, well, I was angry. Justification, I was frustrated. It doesn't matter how you feel. You don't have to behave a certain way, and it certainly shouldn't be used as justification. And so then I began to look closer into what is this attachment thing? There's only certain things that trigger me, and they don't trigger other people. And these triggers, sometimes we wear them like badges of pride. I have buttons that somebody can hit, somebody can push, somebody can cause me to feel bad. Another damaging belief. But, to our credit, we didn't know what was actually going on. And it's what everybody else says. So it must be true, right? But they also used to say that the earth was flat. Was it true? See, there are so many other possibilities when you are not narrowed and focused on just one. And why do we do that? Why do we narrow and focus on just one idea or feeling or thought or belief about ourselves or about others? Because we really truly think and believe that that's the problem, that it's out there. And I need to identify it out there so I can do something with it. Now, that's true for physical pain. If you have physical pain, a knife stab or something, you got to locate the knife. But it's not true for mental psychological. Because the knife is a thought inside of us. It's not a thought somebody has thrown at us, that somebody has forced upon us. Somebody may say something and then we may repeat it back to ourselves with the addition, that's true. And as soon as we say that's true, that's your power of authority, one of your 5 powers that I teach in alchemy. As soon as you say that's true, you experience that thought, the effects of that thought, good feeling or bad feeling. But if you don't, whatever was said is gone. So this attachment, my God, we could be attached to so many things. People, things, events, the weather, our job, money, doctor, body. To learn the fundamental truth that you're not actually attached to anything. There is no actual physical attachment. There's no actual physical button that anybody can push or rope they can pull, or there's nothing there. So an attachment is a belief that you need something. Need. Need is a painful thing. Wanting is a painful thing. That's not to say that you don't go out and do things and, be productive and take care of business. You can play quite freely. But are you attached so that if it doesn't go your way, you act badly, you feel badly, you react badly? Now, it would be a lot of work to go around trying to detach from everything, because there's always another thing, there's always another thing, there's always another thing. You can do that. It may take a long time. But as long as you believe that anything can hurt you or hold your happiness, there'll always be another thing. And so the root belief, what I call the happiness lie, needs to be looked at. And if you detach yourself from something that you're believing that you need in the moment, and you have the higher, aha, I didn't need that. What else don't I need? And if this generalizes out into, there is nothing that you need, that's a turning point. And sooner or later, you quit acting as if you're attached. Because it's just acting, because you're not attached. You quit acting. Why do you choose to quit acting? Because it hurts. It doesn't work. It's not freedom. It's not peace. When you see this sober seeing, and you face the honesty of it, then a very deep peace can settle in. The thoughts may still arise because that's just the habit. That's just mind's job. Its job is to send you thoughts as options. The ones that it thinks you're interested in, the ones that you habitually entertain, that you have given the most interest and power of attention and authority. Three of your 5 powers. There's a saying in neurology that what fires together wires together. And if it's wired together, it works really quickly, very easily. And so these thoughts may continue arising, but as long as you don't believe them as true or important, and you don't put your interest in them, then they have no power because they arise as options, mere options. And eventually they're like the birds. If you stop putting your attention, you stop feeding the birds, they stop coming. And so for a while for me, mind did battle back and forth. It kept arising with those habitual, you might see patterns in your life, thoughts that arise and you believe them, and then you have that experience all over again. But if you quit putting your interest in it, quit believing in it, they do slow down. They stop even. They may even be replaced by something else. And that's what we do with alchemy. It's kind of an antidote. It's sort of using one thorn to remove another. And then when you're done, you throw them both away. Utterly free. So alchemy is finding out what it is you don't want, facing it, not denying it, actually looking straight at it and not trying to be bigger than it. Just admitting, oh yeah, that's what I want. And how does it feel? And now you're putting your attention on what you do want, not on what you don't want. And that changes everything. Because now you are open to wisdom. Now you can see other possibilities, not just the one option that happens to have arisen in the moment. Because you can only put your power of attention on one at a time. You can only be interested in one at a time. So the only question left is, which do you prefer? And when I found this out accidentally, that we can do this, that we're not attached, that we are inherently free, I went around giving myself whatever I wanted. I went around in love, joy, bliss, peace. That's not to say there weren't any problems, there weren't any material problems, things to take care of, but there was no sense of a problem. It was just things to do. You're going to go through whatever you're going to go through. Right? This sober realization hit me too. I'm going to go through whatever I'm going to go through. And whether I suffer or stress or kick up a fight about it or not, it's not going to make a difference to what I'm going to go through. But it is going to make a difference to me, how I experience it going through it. And if I am in a more peaceful, resourceful state, I'll respond in a better way. So I learned that I didn't need to control my state. I just needed to see there was nothing needing controlling. That there's nothing actually wrong. Let's say, for instance, it's time to pay the rent and your bank account's empty. So what's needed is money in the bank account. Any stressful or painful thoughts about it is not going to fill the bank account. It's not going to make you resourceful or creative or motivated. Properly motivated to do what you need to do, to take care of things. But if you feel abundant, then you're creative and you tap into the abundance that's already around you. A lot of people speak about manifesting things. How egoic, how arrogant. You don't manifest. It's already all there. There is a rich, vast abundance around you, but you don't notice it when you become tiny and narrow in painful thought thinking and feeling. And so you open to the infinite abundance that's already available. How does this attachment thing end once and for all? You can clean up an awful lot of it by shifting your state, by emotionally, mentally detaching from the thing, the person, or the event. But that won't cut the root. It'll gnaw at it. It can make things a lot better. But it's not over. To cut the root, you have to go even deeper. I stopped at thinking I needed to control my state without really looking at what was causing my state, which were my attachments. But what's causing the attachments? What is an attachment? An attachment is, I need this. If you get rid of the this, there'll be another this. If you get rid of the I, what can attach to what? What is this crazy talk? Get rid of the I. Yeah. There's always an I, isn't there? Every time there's a bad feeling, I want this and I don't want that, and I. But what is the I? Go deeper yet. What is it? Does it have any existence, any reality? Is it always there? This I that needs something, wants something, doesn't want something. Is it there in deep sleep? It's not there in deep sleep, and there's no problems in deep sleep. No needs, no wants. That's a clue. We've never really looked very closely to see what this I is. We just go around proclaiming, I need this and I need that. And I don't want this and I don't want that. But have you ever looked at yourself? Looked for yourself? Have you ever found yourself as a what? Don't you think this is important? It struck me as astoundingly important. This I that comes up and has such a problem. It's so certain, but it's not even certain of itself, of who or what it is. If I ask the average person that question, well, I'm a person who, I'm a nice person. I'm a caring person. I'm an unhappy person. I'm an angry person. What's a person? Are you talking about the body? The body is innocent. Other than shelter and water, doesn't have any wants. And even if it did, it doesn't say, I want. What is it that says I want? Is it always present? If you watch closely, you might notice that it's a temporary phenomena. And it's always changing. The I is sometimes happy, sometimes unhappy, sometimes disrespectful, sometimes hurt. It's a chameleon. And we think that's what we are? It's completely unreliable, isn't it? Who wants to be that? What if we're not that? If we're not that, then you should be able to locate what that is. You should be able to recognize what that is, to see what that is. If you can see what that is, if you can locate it and recognize it, you are certainly not it. I can recognize a cup. I can recognize a sound. I can recognize a car. I can recognize a thought. Now, a thought is pretty subtle. If I can recognize a thought, what must that say about me? Then I'm even more subtle than a thought. I am before thought. I know thought. Thought doesn't know me. Thought is not sentient. Some people think their thoughts are their ego. They don't even know what an ego is. They think an ego is sentient. My ego did it. Isn't that a cop-out? So habitual thought feeling arises and we identify with it. And we miss that we do that. And this is why we don't understand what we do, what we say, how we act and react, or why we feel, act, and react the way we do. Because we misidentify with something we're not. And then don't understand. So the secret, if there's a secret, because it's not hidden, it's just not seen, because it's not been looked at, is to look at yourself, to question who you are, to notice what's going on, actually going on, not think an idea about what's going on, like my ego is doing this. No. That's more unconsciousness. That's more ignoring of what's going on. That's more identifying with thought. There's a my identifying that has an ego that is completely vulnerable to this ego. what's actually going on? Okay, there's a bad thought present. Bad thoughts come with bad feelings if they're believed in. All right. Can you see this thought? Can you recognize this thought? Can you acknowledge that it wasn't there before and it's here now? And the same thing for the feeling. Can you acknowledge it wasn't there before and it's there now? How do you know that? It means you were there before. You pre-exist these things. You're not those things. And the moment you do that, you pull out of unconsciousness. You pull out of identification. You have more options. You have the gap. You have more space. You may, just may, feel, act, and react differently. With awareness. So I encourage you to try it on. Thanks for joining and listening. I hope you try it on this week. Maybe you'll have some questions next week. I invite people to come and interact with me live if they like. Ask questions, explore what's really going on here so that we can free ourselves from the happiness lie, from attachment, from the lies of why we act, feel, and react the way we do. Thanks for joining and have a great week.